The founding of COSI was an absolutely entrepreneurial activity because it was a new organizational form. Previously, there had been the Chamber of Commerce, which represented businesses since, I think, 1840s, and everybody belonged to it if they were in business. In the 1960s and early 70s, Cleveland was a leading town. I think we were the second city in the country in terms of headquarters for Fortune 500 companies. As corporations moved out or were acquired, they then turned and said, well, we need to take in some small businesses to make this, at that time called a growth association. They wanted to grow Cleveland, and they couldn't do it when they were losing support. At the time that COSI started, the small corporation membership in the Growth Association was down under 40 companies. It had yet to be proved that so many jobs in this country are created by small companies, not by the huge corporations. And so we were fighting not only the government, but big business at that point. The government was turning against business and imposing regulations that made it a very tough time for small businesses. They went to Washington. I got a cold shoulder instead of a warm welcome and a stimulus check. There were several efforts, that one of them caused by a strike, to gather small businesses together. And with that crisis, when small companies couldn't receive goods and couldn't ship goods, they were really on the point of going out of business, many of them, particularly manufacturers. And so there was an effort led by Ed Richard to demand that something be done about this. And he got 200 guys and ladies who ran businesses to come down to, and what the papers called a march on City Hall, to demand that something be done to end this wildcat strike. And it was ended a few days later. But some of the ideas that grew out of that were later incorporated into COSI, and it was the blending of those ideas with the staff and resources of the Growth Association that made COSI work. The name COSI took a while to develop. We came up with the name of Small Business Council, but there was already a Small Business Council of America. So we turned it around and shuffled the words and came up with the idea of Council of Smaller Enterprises. Well, the question was also, how should you pronounce that? Like COS? Well, we came up with COSI as sounding better. But in the process of naming COSI, we got off on some tangents of names, like we were going to call it the Federation of Independent Tiny Empires, with the acronym of FIGHT, F-I-T-E. So we might have been FIGHT instead of COSI. It was an innovative thing that was formed in 5 months period, and it got off the ground 2 months later. Everybody hit the ground running. They were all entrepreneurs and eager to make this thing succeed. The efforts were to find programs that attracted people, things they could participate in or directly benefit from. And the things we picked out at that time were the resources of joint purchasing, particularly of healthcare, which paid for the Growth Association dues right out of the box. Second was education, and third was the lobbying effort. Those are still the foundation of COSI and what we do. You know, I think when the Growth Association Executive Committee, in spite of their skepticism that small business whippersnappers, you know, I was 50 at that time, but I was a whippersnapper, would somehow disgrace the business community. And we overcame that by having a responsible program that we presented to them, and they voted unanimously to support it. Bob Smith, who had been head of COSI, was elected the chairman of the Growth Association, which marked really the maturity point of Growth Association recognized that COSI had come of age. That COSI has been a member-driven organization is it's a key to its success. The leaders of COSI are, I think, in almost every case, people who still want to make it work, make things happen. And I think that's a great secret for keeping an organization vital. There isn't any other way to describe it. It did succeed beyond what we ever thought feasible, getting to over 16,000 companies.